Every single day you climb into your Ford, you are interacting with a system that has been intentionally crippled by corporate attorneys. You paid tens of thousands of dollars for a vehicle equipped with a high-definition center touchscreen, an advanced navigation processor, and a complex network of communication modules. Yet, the moment your speedometer registers a measly 3 miles per hour, a digital wall slams down. Your expensive screen grays out. Your passenger becomes a useless spectator, unable to type an address or scroll through a playlist. The manufacturer wants you to believe this is an integrated safety system. They want you to think it is a sophisticated, high-tech solution to driver distraction. That is a lie. It is a crude, cheap software lock. It is a blunt on-off switch tied to a single vehicle's speed signal. It has zero engineering intelligence. It cannot detect if a passenger is sitting in the right seat. It ignores the weight sensor logic already built into your airbag system. It is a multi-thousand-dollar piece of hardware defeated by a single line of market-specific code. You are forced to either pull over onto a dangerous highway shoulder or scream at a clumsy voice activation system that fails to recognize basic syntax 50% of the time. What they call a safety feature is actually a liability shield for the manufacturer, and it actively introduces new driving hazards. Today, we are stripping back the corporate marketing. We are looking at the exact engineering modules controlling your dashboard, and I am giving you the precise, documented blueprint to take back control of the hardware you already own. Here are the 4 hidden realities, system flaws, and locked capabilities hiding inside your Ford infotainment network. Number 4. The regional lockout code inside the APIM, the hardware inside a Ford built for the United States, is identical to the hardware shipped to Europe, Asia, or South America. Ford does not manufacture 50 different versions of its sensor screen computer to satisfy 50 different local laws. That would destroy their manufacturing margins. Instead, they use a single component called the APIM. This is the Accessory Protocol Interface module. It is the actual brain mounted directly behind your glass touchscreen. Inside the flash memory of the APIM sits a configuration block. This block contains a specific regional identifier code. When a truck rolls off the assembly line destined for the North American market, Ford engineers do not write unique code for it. They simply flip a digital market switch. This country code instructs the APIM to monitor the high-speed CAN bus network for a wheel speed velocity signal. The moment that signal exceeds 0, the software triggers the keyboard lockout. In more permissive global markets, those exact same data packets are ignored by the navigation software. The capability to input data while moving is already built into your vehicle's silicon. It is active right now, sitting dormant in the module memory. You do not need to hack the system, download unverified software, or corrupt your operating system. You simply need to alter the market configuration byte to match a region that respects passenger functionality. The fix is incredibly straightforward. Owners use an open-source diagnostic software called FORScan running on a standard Windows laptop. You connect the laptop to your vehicle's OBD2 diagnostic port using a dedicated, high-quality pass-through adapter cable. A reliable, switched adapter costs roughly $40 to $60. That minor investment stands against the hundreds of dollars a dealership would charge you for advanced diagnostics, or the thousands of dollars locked away in disabled vehicle features. Once the software maps your vehicle's network, you navigate directly to the APIM configuration sector. On Sync 2 and Sync 3 systems, you locate the specific data string at address 7D00201. By changing the designated market values within this hex block, you instruct the module to bypass the domestic speed lock protocol. You write the new values, cycle your ignition switch 3 to 5 times to let the module clear its cache, and the restriction disappears permanently. Number 3. The 911 Assist Safety Deletion Trap if you own a newer Ford equipped with the Sync 4 architecture. Modifying your APIM parameters comes with a hidden, severe technical consequence that the internet forums rarely mention. On specific model years, particularly 2021 and 2022 F-150 trucks, changing the regional configuration code causes an immediate conflict within the vehicle's telematics control unit. The software logic sees the modified market code in the APIM, notes the mismatch with the domestic cellular modem, and quietly deletes the 911 Assist feature from your system entirely. This is not a minor menu glitch. 911 Assist is the hardwired safety protocol that utilizes your paired mobile phone to instantly broadcast GPS coordinates to emergency dispatchers if your vehicle detects an airbag deployment or a high-G impact deceleration event. When the API-M software glitches due to a poorly researched regional code change, the 911 Assist toggle button vanishes from your screen completely. The system fails silently without triggering a check engine light or a dashboard warning message. If you drive isolated rural roads, travel frequently at night, or commute alone, losing an automated emergency notification system is an unacceptable trade-off. A $40 software modification is not worth the catastrophic cost of lying unconscious in a ditch with a disabled safety system that can no longer call for medical help. You must verify system integrity immediately after making any software configuration change. The actionable fix is strict module bookkeeping. Before you alter a single bit of data inside the API-M or any other vehicle computer, you must use your diagnostic software to perform a complete as-built configuration backup. The software allows you to save the exact factory hexadecimal layout into a local file on your laptop. If you upload a new regional code and discover that your 911 Assist menu has vanished, you do not guess or experiment. You immediately reload your factory backup file, write the original data back to the module, and restore your critical safety systems to factory operational status. Number 2. The over-the-air update wipeout. Modern Fords are no longer isolated mechanical machines. They are rolling cellular devices. If your vehicle is equipped with an internal FordPass Connect modem, the manufacturer maintains a persistent, bidirectional data link to your vehicle's module network. They regularly push over-the-air software updates directly to your truck without asking for explicit, real-time permission. These updates are marketed as performance enhancements, but their primary engineering function is often digital compliance and patch management. When you use a laptop to change the hexadecimal values inside your API-M, you are writing data to a localized configuration sector. You are changing a variable, not the underlying operating system. When an over-the-air update downloads to your vehicle, the installation script frequently overwrites the entire configuration block back to the factory master file stored on the corporate servers. You can spend an afternoon executing a flawless software modification, only to walk out to your vehicle 3 months later and find the system completely reverted to its locked-out, safety message-throwing state. The manufacturer has quietly undone your work while your vehicle sat parked in your driveway overnight. Your immediate solution is a physical, hardware-based bypass module. For owners who do not want to constantly re-verify software codes after an update, aftermarket engineering firms build plug-and-play bypass harnesses. These devices install physically behind the center dashboard screen. They plug directly in line between the factory wiring harness and the API-M input plug. No wires are cut, and no factory insulation is spliced. The hardware module functions by intercepting the high-speed CAN bus speed packets before they reach the screen's processor. When the vehicle moves, the module filters out the velocity data packet specifically for the infotainment unit while leaving the rest of the vehicle's network untouched. Because this fix lives inside physical, added hardware rather than a software value, a wireless corporate update cannot patch it out. It is a permanent, hardware-level correction that costs roughly $150, but completely isolates your dashboard features from factory software interference. But do not assume that a grayed-out navigation screen is the only thing the manufacturer is hiding inside your dashboard computer network. The exact same modules that control your radio and map functions are quietly communicating with engine subsystems, monitoring your driving habits, and prepping your vehicle for failures that look like wear and tear, but are actually engineered limitations. You think a locked keyboard is frustrating. Wait until you see what they are doing to your powertrain parameters behind the scenes. Say number 1. The hidden powertrain parameter locks and oil life degradation variables. The lockouts on your center screen are nothing compared to the hidden engineering parameters buried deep within your body control module and powertrain control module. Ford programs your vehicle with factory default values that are optimized for one specific thing, surviving the initial warranty period while hitting artificial regulatory emissions targets. They do not program these modules to make your engine or transmission last 300,000 miles. The clear evidence lives inside your oil life monitoring algorithm. Your vehicle does not possess a physical laboratory sensor that analyzes the actual chemical degradation or shearing of your engine oil. Instead, it relies on a software-calculated predictive model inside the PCM. Ford calculates this based on engine revolutions, operating temperature cycles, and raw mileage intervals. The factory logic is heavily biased toward extended service intervals, often reaching up to 10,000 miles between oil changes, under the guise of lowering the cost of ownership for fleet buyers. From an engineering perspective, this is mechanical suicide. At 10,000 miles, modern direct-injection EcoBoost engines suffer from severe fuel dilution, where raw gasoline bypasses the piston rings and thins out the motor oil. This drops your operating viscosity significantly, leading to accelerated wear on your high-load components, like the variable camshaft timing actuators and turbocharger bearings. The bearing clearances on these engines are incredibly tight, often less than 0.0015 inches. When fuel diluted, low-viscosity oil passes through those clearances under load. The oil film collapses, resulting in direct metal-on-metal contact. The economic stakes here are devastating. Adhering to the manufacturer's optimistic 10,000-mile default interval might save you roughly $120 a year in routine oil changes. However, when your timing chains stretch and your cam phasers begin to rattle at 70,000 miles, just outside the powertrain warranty, you are looking at a massive $4,500 repair bill at the dealership. If the low oil pressure destroys the turbochargers or drops a valve, you are facing a complete engine replacement, costing upwards of $11,000. The actionable fix requires you to manually take control of the monitoring logic. You must connect your laptop via 4R scan, navigate to the instrument panel cluster module configuration, and access the oil life monitor parameter settings. You can reconfigure the base multiplier from 100% down to 50% or 60%. This forces the dashboard display to accurately reflect a safe, mechanically sound 5,000-mile severe service duty cycle. If you prefer not to touch the software configuration, your immediate manual fix is to completely ignore the vehicle's digital dashboard recommendations altogether. Step away from the electronic screen, document your mileage manually on paper, and dump your oil every 5,000 miles or 6 months without exception. Number 0. The battery management system, death cycle there, is an even more insidious software feature quietly destroying your vehicle's electrical system every time it sits parked in your garage. It is called the BMS, the Battery Management System. If you own a modern Ford, you have likely noticed that your auto start-stop feature randomly stops working, or your keyless entry pads on the doors occasionally refuse to respond until you physically cycle the key fob. These are the telltale symptoms of a battery that is being systematically starved of voltage by its own charging system. The engineering reason for this design flaw traces back to fuel economy regulations. Alternators place a mechanical parasitic load on the engine. The harder the alternator works to generate electricity, the more fuel the engine consumes. To squeeze out an extra fraction of a mile per gallon for corporate testing, Ford handles charging with a smart variable algorithm. Instead of maintaining a steady, healthy charging voltage of 14.2 to 14.4 volts like older vehicle systems did, the BMS target state of charge is deliberately throttled down to roughly 80%. When your vehicle decelerates, the system momentarily spikes the alternator output to capture kinetic energy. But during steady highway cruising, it frequently drops the alternator output down to 12.6 volts or lower. This means your battery is living its entire life in a state of chronic undercharge. For a standard absorbent glass mat or standard lead-acid battery, operating continuously at an 80% charge state triggers an irreversible chemical process called sulfation. Hard lead sulfate crystals build up on the internal plates, permanently reducing the battery's cold cranking amps and killing its capacity. Let's look at the economic reality of this setup. The variable charging system might save you a completely imperceptible $15 in fuel over the course of a year. But by keeping your battery chronically undercharged, it completely destroys the cell structure within 24 to 36 months. A high-quality replacement AGM battery for a modern truck costs between $220 and $320, plus the added diagnostic fee that dealerships charge to initialize the new unit. You are trading a microscopic fuel saving for a recurring, multi-$100 hardware replacement cycle. The actionable fix is immediate and permanent deactivation of this software constraint. You do not need to buy any aftermarket parts. You connect your diagnostic laptop, enter the body control module configuration screen, and locate the parameter titled Battery Management System. Change this value from enabled to disabled and write the change to the module. The moment you disable the BMS, the vehicle's computer stops playing games with your alternator output. It defaults back to a continuous, stable voltage regulation model, supplying a steady 14.0 plus volts to your electrical system whenever the engine is running. Your battery will consistently maintain a true 100% state of charge, your auto start-stop system quirks will disappear, and your expensive electrical components will easily last 5 to 6 years instead of dying right after the 2-year mark. The absolute worst mistake you can make right now is assuming that your vehicle is operating perfectly just because there are no warning lights lit up on your dashboard. The engineers who built these platforms left back doors, access points, and hidden diagnostic sectors open for a reason, and they expected knowledgeable owners to use them. If you leave your vehicle entirely on its factory-programmed corporate defaults, you are actively consenting to an engineered expiration date. The next tier of deception, the aggressive transmission adaptive learning strategy. Before we get to the absolute worst offender hiding in your vehicle's computers, we have to look at the silent killer of modern Ford automatic transmissions, specifically the 10R80 10-speed gearboxes found in millions of trucks and SUVs. If you have ever experienced a harsh, neck-snapping shift from 3rd to 5th gear, a violent clunk when putting the vehicle in reverse, or a terrifying hesitation when you step on the gas to pass a semi-truck, you are witnessing a software strategy designed to mask physical degradation until it is far too late. The engineering mechanism responsible for this behavior is called adaptive transmission learning, managed entirely by the powertrain control module. Ford designed this software to monitor the exact engagement times of the internal clutch packs using internal speed sensors. As the physical friction material naturally wears down or hydraulic pressures fluctuate, the PCM automatically modifies the shifting pressures and solenoid duty cycles to keep the shifts feeling smooth to the driver. This sounds like smart engineering, but the real-world application is a mechanical nightmare. The software is so focused on maintaining perceived shift comfort that it will continuously adapt to catastrophic internal failures. For example, if the internal main control valve body develops an internal pressure leak or a CDF clutch drum sleeve begins to slip out of position, a notorious mechanical flaw in these units, the computer simply jacks up the hydraulic line pressure to compensate. It masks the slip by slamming the clutches together harder. By the time the software can no longer compensate and finally triggers a check engine light or a transmission fault message, the internal components have been completely pulverized. The pump is chewed up, the clutches are burnt to raw metal, and the fluid is full of destructive aluminum debris. The economic math on this is brutal. The manufacturer's default logic keeps you driving comfortably without a care in the world, while your transmission literally eats itself from the inside out. If you catch a valve body wear issue early, the repair costs roughly $800 to $1,200 for a refreshed solenoid pack and valve body separation plate. But if you let the adaptive learning software mask the problem until the unit completely fails, your only option is a total transmission replacement. In today's market, a remanufactured 10R80 transmission plus labor at a certified shop or dealership will run you between $7,500 and $9,500. The actionable fix is twofold. First, you must use your diagnostic software to regularly perform a transmission adaptive learning reset. You connect your laptop via FOR scan, navigate to the Service Functions tab, and select Transmission Integrated Adaptive Learning Clear. This wipes the distorted corporate learning cache and forces the transmission to operate on its baseline physical parameters. If the harsh shifting returns immediately after the reset, your vehicle is telling you the truth. You have an actual mechanical pressure fault that needs immediate physical repair before it turns into a $9,000 catastrophe, the ultimate deception. The simulated idiot light temperature gauges. Now we have arrived at the single most deceptive piece of software engineering inside your Ford dashboard. The feature that actively lies to your face while your engine is cooking itself to death. Look at your dashboard cluster. You see a beautiful, sweeping needle for your engine coolant temperature, and on higher trim trucks, an electronic gauge for your transmission fluid temperature. You assume that because that needle is sitting perfectly in the center, your engine is running at an optimal, safe operating temperature. That is an absolute illusion. Those are not real-time gauges. They are software-damped idiot lights disguised as precision instruments. From an engineering and programming perspective, Ford intentionally engineered a massive dead zone into the instrument cluster software logic. When your engine coolant is at a chilly 165 degrees Fahrenheit, the needle moves to the center. When the engine climbs to a normal 200 degrees, the needle stays in the exact same spot. When you are towing a heavy trailer up a steep mountain grade in July and your actual cylinder head temperatures rocket up to a dangerous 235 or 240 degrees, guess what that needle does? Absolutely nothing. It remains perfectly, placidly centered. Ford programmed the cluster microprocessor to hold that needle dead center anywhere between roughly 165 and 235 degrees Fahrenheit. The software intentionally suppresses real-time data fluctuations because corporate clinic studies showed that consumers get anxious if they see an analog needle move up and down during normal driving workloads. The needle will not move toward the red zone until the engine reaches roughly 240 to 245 degrees, the exact thermal threshold where aluminum cylinder heads warp, head gaskets blow, and factory plastic coolant crossover pipes violently crack under extreme pressure. The gauge only tells you there is a problem after the terminal engine damage has already occurred. The financial consequences of this visual deception are severe. A real-time, accurate gauge would warn you to back off the throttle or pull over the second your temps cleared 225 degrees, costing you absolutely nothing but a few minutes of travel time. Instead, the default corporate software keeps you completely blind until the engine overheats instantly. A warped cylinder head or a cracked block on a modern dual overhead cam EcoBoost or Coyote engine cannot be easily machined. You are looking at a mandatory engine long block replacement. That bill routinely lands between $8,500 and $13,000 depending on your specific model. The actionable fix is to force your dashboard to display the raw, unvarnished engineering numbers. You do not need to mount ugly aftermarket gauges to your windshield or pillar. You connect your laptop via F4 scan, select the instrument panel cluster module configuration sector, and locate the parameter titled View Temperature Digits, or Engine and Transmission Temp Numbers above gauges. Change this value from disabled to enabled and flash the module. The moment the cluster reboots, the fake analog needles are overridden. The system will now print the exact real-time numerical temperature in degrees directly above the physical gauge icons. You will see the temperature change dynamically based on your speed, your payload, and the terrain. You will finally have the critical data you need to protect your engine before the software allows it to self-destruct. The final blueprint for vehicle ownership. Your vehicle is a highly sophisticated network of computers that has been intentionally dumbed down, restricted, and programmed to fail quietly to satisfy corporate lawyers, marketing clinics, and regulatory averages. If you leave your vehicle exactly the way it rolled off the delivery truck, you are leaving your financial investment completely at the mercy of default corporate software loops. You do not have to accept these engineered limitations. You have the tools, the access points, and the absolute right to reprogram your property. Let's summarize your complete physical and digital blueprint to take back control of your Ford today. Infotainment freedom. Modify the APA-IM regional market code at address 70-00201 to remove the speed-based navigation lockouts, giving your passenger full control of the center screen while the vehicle is in motion. Always perform a complete as-built module backup first to safeguard your 911 assist features, or bypass the system entirely using a physical, update-proof hardware intercept harness, engine longevity. Navigate to the instrument panel cluster module or powertrain control module to recalibrate your oil life monitor multiplier down to 50% or 60%. Force the vehicle to recommend a mechanically safe 5,000-mile severe service oil change interval to eliminate fuel dilution and protect your ultra-tight bearing clearances. Electrical stabilization. Access the body control module configuration and completely disable the battery management system. Stop the alternator from starving your cells to save fractions of a drop of fuel, and restore a continuous, healthy 14.0 plus volt charging profile that doubles the lifespan of your expensive AGM battery. Transmission protection. Regularly execute a Transmission Integrated Adaptive Learning Clear within the AF/ORSCAN service menu to wipe distorted pressure adaptations, exposing real mechanical issues early before they turn into complete internal gearbox failures. Thermal truth. Reconfigure your instrument panel cluster settings to enable the hidden digital readouts directly above your coolant and transmission fluid indicators. Eradicate the engineered software dead zones and monitor the actual unvarnished temperature of your powertrain in real time. Stop driving a vehicle that treats you like a liability and masks its own mechanical degradation. Get the proper diagnostic adapter. Download the configuration software. Back up your factory baselines, and flip the switches that should have been enabled from day one.